from the high desert in the great American Southwest.
Welcome to Coast AM. John, welcome to the program. It's good to have you with us. You're with us.
Welcome to Coast PM, the number one unofficial Coast to Coast AM podcast. This is a podcast where two brothers analyze the world's largest overnight paranormal radio show known as Coast to Coast AM. My name is Paul, and I am the guy that listens to this inexplicable radio show here with my brother.
Hey, it's Chris. I'm the David Spade to your Chris Farley, but you did not destroy one of my coats.
I do not understand that reference. You lost me there. It's been too long since I've seen that movie. I have to catch up.
Go back and watch. Go back and watch.
These references are getting more and more obscure as we continue on. Well, Chris, we are done with Spooktober. October's over. We're finished with the spooky.
Spooktober?
It's out the door. We're getting back to the weird stuff, man.
All right. Make it weird, dude. What are we talking about today?
So I got a special one for you today because we have not covered any of the weekend hosts yet. Not a single one of the weekend hosts.
Well, I thought George Knapp did the weekend sometimes.
You're right. We did cover George Knapp, but he's the good one. I don't even want to call him a weekend host.
Okay.
He's like a special guest.
Special guest host.
Yes.
Right.
So today we are going
Johnny
to be covering...
Carson went to some favorites when he was trying to get his guest hosts lined up. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So
no scrubs.
Today, Chris, we're going to be covering...
Today we got a scrub.
We're going to be covering Connie Willis's interview with James Bartley from October 21st, 2022.
Connie and Bartley.
So you're probably not familiar with James, Chris.
No, I'm not familiar with either of these people.
So James is an alien investigator who was brought on to discuss the Astral Dreamscape Adjustment Bureau that's being ran by reptilian gray hybrids.
My Lord in heaven. What is going on with that?
If none of those words made sense to you, don't worry. We will be covering all of that and more on today's episode.
I would like to work for the bureau that has Dreamscape in it. That sounds incredible.
It is where reptilian gray hybrids, so it's a mixture between a reptilian, which is a subterranean species on Earth, and a gray, which is an alien species, if you're not familiar. Those are hybridized together, and they control your dreams and manipulate your thought patterns and you and society at large through this adjustment bureau. So this is going to be one of the weirder episodes, I think. That
I'm already freaking out, dude.
It's trippy.
I'm bugging.
And this guy got 3 hours with Connie.
Oh my God.
3 hours. No one gets 3 hours.
You went through all 3 hours?
I listened to this man for 3 hours, and I think it impacted me like emotionally, mentally. I feel less stable.
No doubt, dude. Astral Dreamscape Adjustment Bureau, dude. That's nuts.
That's not a healthy thing to be talking about.
Oh, this is going to be so much fun to get into. But first, we got a little Tim time.
We got to check out the Coast to Coast AM blog, Chris, with Tim Banal.
Timmy.
So today's article, the headline, alien spotted riding in backseat of car on Google Earth.
Well, that was convenient.
Yeah, just spotted on Google Earth, man. You got to, and here's the problem. Google is ruining secrets, okay? You know how many government projects have been outed because of Google Earth?
A lot, actually.
A whole lot. And now they're spotting aliens.
Amount. Dude, that's a big old oops on whoever made that mistake putting the alien in the car with them. They're like, hey, I need a frozen drink down from the 7-Eleven. I want a Coke slushie.
You know, have you ever thought about the fact that we have so many satellites taking pictures of Earth and so much Google going around and scanning everything? And like, why don't we have better images of UFOs?
Because that's not quite how it works, Paul, but go ahead.
I was just wondering. All right, so today's article. A search for directions on Google Earth left a Maine woman scratching her head when she stumbled upon what appears to be an alien riding in the backseat of a car. The very weird discovery was reportedly made by Crystal Patterson as she was using the popular mapping service to find out how to get to a yard sale that was being held in the community of Mapleton. While going over her route, her attention was drawn to a car that struck her as particularly peculiar. The driver looked naked, she recalled, so I zoomed in because I'm nosy. However, Patterson soon found herself looking at something even stranger when she noticed an anomaly in the back seat that bears an uncanny resemblance to an alien.
Ooh.
Posting the puzzling photo to social media, she explained how she had accidentally found the bewildering sight and asked, quote, "Can someone please tell me what I'm looking at in the back seat?" As one might imagine, the eerie image elicited an array of responses from people online, with many marveling that she may have spotted an alien, while less imaginative individuals chalked the curious sighting up to a trick of light and shadow, or perhaps a party decoration being transported at the precise moment when the car was photographed by Google. What's your take on the weird photo? Is the anomaly merely a Google glitch, or could it be an ET in a PT Cruiser?
Because what else would an alien be rolling around in, dude? Can we zoom up on this thing?
Let's zoom in on this image, and it'll be in the show notes. It'll be in the show notes.
Of course, it'll be in the show notes. Dude, that's like a mask or something. Look,
I don't even know if that's a mask. It could be a bundle of blankets.
Yeah, the eyes are a little bit glossy, but yeah. They're totally right, though. The person in the front seat does look naked.
Yeah, that person does not have a shirt on, for sure. That would have drawn my eyes more than this thing in the back. Now, the funny thing is that the window is rolled down as if this thing is getting air.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is anomalous.
Well, this person's getting naked probably has a little bit of a stench, especially if they're driving around in a PT Cruiser, Paul.
That's true as well.
So, anyways, inconclusive is what I'm going to go with that, Paul.
Like all of the alien evidence we have so far, inconclusive.
Inconclusive on if that was an alien in the back seat, Paul. But all right, I need to hear about these gray alien hybrids. Their Astral Dreamscape Bureau, dude. This sounds absolutely wild.
We're going to get there in 30 seconds because we got some housekeeping, Chris.
Oh, okay, fine.
So number one, we have an email address. You can send your thoughts or episode requests to c2cpmpod@gmail.com. That is using the letter 2. The email address is in the show notes. If you like the show, drop us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening, and smash that subscribe button. We release episodes every Thursday. That'll make sure you never miss any of this wonderful show. And lastly, thank you to everyone who has told friends about us. We do not advertise. We don't go on other podcasts. This is 100% organic. So thank you for
homegrown, baby. Homegrown.
We appreciate every single one of you.
I believe they call it artisanal. We're an artisanal podcast.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Let's get to the show. Number one, Chris, we have not heard from Connie yet.
Don't know Connie.
We never heard her voice.
Don't know who Connie is.
I wanted to clip her intro just so you can kind of acclimate yourself to the warm light that is Connie in Coast to Coast.
Broadcasting from the confines of an abandoned radio station in the secluded apartment building of High Strangeness on the foothills of the Colorado Rockies. It's time for full disclosure of the topics they told us were off limits.
Nice. We're going to the off-limit zone.
Off limits. And the number one off-limit topic, Chris, Astral Dreamscapes.
Yeah, dude, that is definitely off-limits. Okay, so explain to me, what is an Astral Dreamscape, dude? I'm not even sure I understand what that means.
I don't think I understand it, but let's hear James's explanation.
Well, thank you. The Astral Dreamscape is where a lot of the behavior modification, programming, mind control is conducted by various archontic beings, be they human or non-human, through innate know-how or through technological means. The fact is we spend a lot of time sleeping, and most people are not lucid dreamers, are not. And even lucid dreamers, on occasion, can have their dreams hacked and manipulated, but what I call stage-managed dreams, the ability of some of these beings to essentially take over your dream from within and guide it in a certain way, create mental imagery, scenery, for particular purposes, behavior modification purposes.
So these are aliens that do Inception.
Actually, yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
These
said they're doing Inception.
these are aliens who do Inception.
Alien and subterranean humanoids, aka reptilians.
Yes, you're right.
Who will be coming up.
But it's the hybrid of the two, right?
Yeah, so he talks about a lot of different examples, but one of them is the hybrids.
But they're the children of reptiles and greys.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. So do those beings go underground with their reptile fathers, or do they go up to space with their gray mothers?
That is a great question that's not really addressed. My guess would be that they are going underground. We do talk through how they get into your bedroom, though, so we'll make sure to cover that part. He also mentioned the term archons. So if you aren't familiar with archons, this is actually an old Gnostic term. Archons,
I was going to say, I have heard of archons. They're kind of like angels, right?
Yeah, so it's like bad angels, right? So they're malevolent, sadistic beings who are controlling Earth. So it's angelic in a way, but they're bad guys. The whole thing with Gnosticism is that God is mean and bad. So it's kind of like, his
the God that we worship is an evil person, and the Satan that we hate is the good person.
Yeah, just flipping Christianity on its head, which is always fun to do.
Yeah, always fun to do. To do. Why are they trying to get into our dreams?
That is a great question, Chris. And, James has the answers for us today.
We are resonators. We're emitters of frequency. And what we're talking about is emotional, energetic harvesting. These entities, these archontic entities of various stripes, be they interdimensional, extraterrestrial, subterrestrial, whatever the case may be, the negative ones, it behooves them to keep us in a negative frequency bandwidth. What the astral dreamscape manipulation is all about is, if you look at it from a tactical standpoint, these beings have a tactical high ground. We go to sleep, we go into a REM state, we start dreaming, and then what these beings can do is they can start manipulating our dreams.
So they're energy feeders.
They're feeding off of our bad vibes.
Okay. All right. So classic, dude. I mean, we've heard this from everyone from the shadow people and Hat Man to demons to other types of cryptid beings. They're feeding off our energy.
They're feeding off our energy, and specifically the Astral Dreamscape Adjustment Bureau is there to make sure that our dreams stay bad and that they stay in bad vibey territory.
So they have a bureau. They have a bureaucratic form of government to ensure that humans have bad dreams.
Yes, that is exactly what we're talking about here.
There is a guy who's running statistics right now saying we got about 10,000 bad dreams in region Q.
That there is a guy doing that. These archons have a bureaucracy. Yeah.
Somebody's going around knocking doors. Sir, did you have a nightmare tonight?
It's the banality of evil, Chris.
Oh my God, dude. That's so phenomenal. I love that he called it a bureau, dude. That's just, I'm just running with this to the day. Do you think they get benefits?
So, I mean, where he got this from is the Matt Damon movie, The Adjustment Bureau.
Right. I mean, except he took angels and demons and made them into aliens.
Made them into aliens.
Yeah. And what a way to unite the worlds of aliens and subterranean species.
Well, they're meeting in the middle, I guess, to torture humans in our sleep.
Right. That's pretty funny, actually. It's like we're just stuck between these two, and they're both feeding off of our energy.
Us humans are between a rock and a hard place.
To believe me.
I think this guy just has really bad dreams, is what I'm getting at.
This is already wild. Okay.
Inexplicable.
Where do we even go from here, Paul?
All right. So, are you familiar with phobias, right, Chris?
Yeah, I've heard of them. I've heard of this.
Phobias are coming from this Adjustment Bureau. That's where we're getting our phobias.
Damn, dude.
They can inculcate phobias into us. If we never had fears or phobias about heights, suddenly we can start having recurring dreams of being stuck on a cliff face. Many of these beings can alter their density, alter their frequency. So as we're lying asleep, they can literally, even if they can be corporeal one moment on board a ship or in an underground base or subterranean cavern system, they can manifest through a portal entry, for example, in our bedrooms, or come out of a portal entry in our closet, and then they can alter their density. So they can slip into us essentially while we're sleeping and then take over our astral dreamscape from within.
So, Paul, these alien gray hybrids are also like Santa Claus.
I was actually going more with Monsters, Inc.
Oh, dude, no, I'm just imagining Tim Allen's The Santa Claus, where the question comes, well, not everyone has a fireplace. So how does Santa get around? And the like radiator turns into a fireplace. Everything just kind of turns into a chimney and a fireplace so that the Santa Claus can get down and deliver the presents. This is anything can turn into a grate or a system for these hybrid beings to come into our room and give us nightmares.
Pretty much. And here's the other thing, Chris, is that he says that they can come through portals in your closet to come and give you nightmares, which is the exact plot to Pixar's Monsters, Inc.
I haven't seen Monsters, Inc. In some time, so I didn't remember that. But yeah,
They had a bunch of doors, and you go through the door, and they get to the kids and give them nightmares.
This guy
and
watched
they feed off the energy of the nightmares.
This guy watched a couple of movies back to back and was like, wait a minute, it came to me. I know what this is. He watched Adjustment Bureau, Monsters, Inc., and Inception and was like, I figured it out.
This is real.
I just got divine inspiration from Hollywood. Let me make up a new theory now.
Well, and here's the thing, too, is that also folds into the conspiracy for a lot of people. And this guy doesn't specifically do that, but a lot of times people say, like, oh, well, Hollywood obviously is in on the cabal, and that's the bragging. They love to brag out loud about what they're doing and their plan. So I'm not getting it from the movie. The movie is just a reflection of reality, and it's further evidence that this is real.
Oh, yeah. Like we said, dude, the best trick that the devil ever pulled on us was convincing us he wasn't real, dude.
And then making a movie about himself and grossing hundreds of millions of dollars.
I can just see this elite cabal of hybrid beings running our government being like, let's make Monsters, Inc. and Pixar. It'll be hilarious.
A gigantic inside joke.
Oh,
just for the cabal to brag.
This dude is wild.
He is crazy.
James Bartley. What a wild human being. All right. What else you got for? I'm just, everything has been shocking so far, Paul.
We're still in hour one, Chris. We got a while to go.
Well, yeah, we're not even the first commercial break.
Yeah, I think this is the first 10 minutes of the conversation. So, do you ever have anxiety dreams, Chris? Because I have them all the time.
I actually don't have that many anxiety dreams. Never, not even like in school did I. I mean, I had a few, of course, but not that many actually.
So I still have the one where you wake up and you realize that you have a final for a class that you haven't been going to, like one of those anxiety college dreams. Right, I still have those. So James actually talks about a dream kind of like that, and it's actually because of aliens, I found out, and it's not that I just had anxiety.
Right.
We have the frustration dreams where we're just, and this is part of the Astral Dreamscape Adjustment Bureau aspect too, where we're giving a seemingly impossible task. Oftentimes it's a classroom setting. Nobody tells us anything. Okay, here's what you're supposed to do, James. Here's your task. Do this, do this, do this. And when you finish, turn in your paperwork, right? So you're sitting there in our example, and this is very commonly reported, in a classroom scenario. You don't know anything about the assignment. And then what appears to be other students in the classroom are getting up, turning in their assignments. And that's the point. It's a frustration dream. Now, what some people have done, and I've done this, I just got up and left. I got up and left the classroom.
Good play.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can try to change it. Where the Adjustment Bureau kicks in is they try to reel you back in, get you lost in another dream, and then reel you back in somehow.
This is all completely wild, but I just got to say, dude, Connie actually has a pretty good radio voice.
Oh, yeah, she doesn't have a bad radio voice at all. I totally agree with that.
I feel like I could listen to her. It's just, I think we talked about this maybe last episode, maybe a couple of episodes ago. You get screwed if you have bad guests.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this dude is insane.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Honestly, all of the coast to coast weekend hosts, they all have really good radio voices. They have really good intros that I always think are fun.
Yeah,
But
hers was good.
It was a
Hers
good intro.
Good. Yeah.
It's a fun intro. We need to do more of them, honestly, kind of scatter them throughout. But you're right. Like, this is the kind of guest that you get. And honestly, this is one of the better guests. Like, he was much more, at least he was interesting, you know?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's wild. It's absolutely insane. But so far, it has been incredibly entertaining. I didn't really care much about the classroom stuff. We've mentioned this before, I guess, that different emotions probably have different flavors.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would be why they would want, like, give this one an anxiety dream, give this one a nightmare, give this one a sad dream.
Shout out to our Hatman episode. I think that was episode 21 with Shadow People.
Yeah.
So go check that out.
October.
Probably similar. So let's get into who's doing this, right? Like, who's actually a part of these organizations that are haunting our dreams and giving us that.
Yeah.
There are more than one species of being that will do this. Greys will do this kind of thing. Mantis beings will do this. Various other types of ETs and interdimensional type beings. The military can do this too, and I can get more into that. But the purpose, at least some of it, is to modify the behavior, the person going through these experiences over time, so it affects them in their normal waking consciousness. They would like nothing more than instilling phobias in people, instilling obsessive compulsive thought loops. And one of my colleagues, Jerry Marzinski, he spent 30 years in the working with psychotic patients in the largest asylum sanitarium in Georgia. And he found out quite independently that the voices, the intrusive thoughts that people hear in their head, oftentimes in their own thought voice, if you will, these are not their own thought voices. From our perspective, these are non-corporeal entities that have the ability to insert their thoughts into our own minds, in our own thought voices, making us think.
So we're just getting attacked from all over the place.
We're getting Mantis beings. He also brings up the Nordic aliens.
You don't hear a lot about the Mantis beings.
You really don't hear enough about the Mantis people. And honestly, I wish we did hear more about them.
I got to know more about the Mantis beings because as of right now, I didn't know they existed.
Yeah, right. So they're giant mantises,
right?
And they're very scary. They're usually teamed up with the reptoids, who are also usually very scary.
Bugs and reptiles, I thought, don't really mix together well, Paul. I thought reptiles typically eat bugs.
That is true. But with the alien beings, it's enemy of my enemy. I'd say.
Right.
And humans being the enemy.
What did we do to them?
That's a great question.
What did we do to them that they have to feed on us like livestock?
That really is what's happening, though, is that it's also the Matrix in a way,
right?
Because we're their batteries.
Yeah, right.
So that really is what's happening, is that they're just using us as energy sources. Now, here's my other question, too. Are we food in some way? When we say they're feeding off our energy, are they like literally sustaining themselves through our bad vibes? Or are they somehow harnessing our bad vibes to like power a ship? You know what I mean?
Ooh, very interesting. Yeah, is it some kind of resource for them?
Yeah.
Does all of our pain and suffering like open wormholes for some reason? Which is why we always hear about this weird paranormal stuff happening, or conspiracy stuff and paranormal stuff, when we're like very frightened, when we're scared, when we're alone, we're like somehow like able to touch into that other realm that is difficult to get into if you're not in the right state.
Yeah. And maybe that's what it is, man, is we have to have our third eye opened in some way to be able to actually interact with this stuff.
And it can be opened through positive or negative means. Right. I'm sure it's something like the negative is easier, but the good is more powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of James's history with this type of stuff, Chris, he actually got into this because he kept getting abducted when he was a kid.
Just constantly getting abducted
He told multiple stories of him being abducted
by aliens, not by other humans, right?
by aliens. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry,
All right.
not by humans.
Not getting
He wasn't
kidnapped.
being kidnapped. Yeah.
He wasn't being kidnapped constantly.
Yeah.
But aliens are abducting him constantly.
Constantly. It just kept happening.
Okay.
So here's one of those stories, because I did find it interesting to hear his origin story, right?
Yeah.
His Batman, my parents got shot in and out.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
1990, I had a series of experiences culminating in a full-blown waking encounter with reptilian greys. These are a hybridized version of the greys and the reptilians. Instead of fingers with nails on them, they had clawed hands, what the late great Dr. Carla Turner called chicken claws, right? Because that's what they look like. They had clawed hands, talons, and they had kind of a bluish tone to their skin. And oddly enough, they seemed to emit their own light source, because I could see them clearly in what should have been a very dark room. Right? Anyway, 3 of them appeared in my bedroom. Long story short, took me up into a craft, a big one, and things kind of unraveled from there.
So that's also where he stopped his story. Was long story short, they took me into a UFO and things unraveled. Didn't expand.
Yeah. Long story. No, sir. That's a long story that needs to be explained further.
That's the story you tell on Coast to Coast. Why are we stopping?
Yeah. I want to know what happens when you went on the ship.
Yeah. Also, I learned from that clip, apparently if you combine a green reptilian in a gray alien, you get a blue chicken claw creature that glows.
Right. That's very interesting. Yeah. Well, but that also goes on to my theory that these reptoids are dinosaurs that evolved and ran into the deep trenches of the earth during the apocalypse and have evolved. And so if they have feathers, that would actually make sense in the evolutionary form.
That's true, because we need to get some feathers on these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we need a lot more feathers.
We need a ton more feathers. So, Chris, the way that he found out that he was being abducted was actually through his dreams. So he talks about how he got a big old legal pad and wrote, like, for days and days, all of these dreams that he's had. And then he realized through these dreams that he had been being abducted, and he just thought it was a dream, but it actually wasn't a dream. It was all super real.
Right. This bureau had gotten in there and messed around a little bit.
They were tinkering, right, with his dreams, with his memory, but he realized, oh, I'm actually interacting with these alien species and with these reptilian species.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Scariest words in the English language.
That's right.
Right next to reptoids are in my room.
Yeah, that's pretty scary too.
So Connie actually asks, which I thought was a good question. You know, the way that James is framing this, all these alien interactions are really negative, and a lot of people who do have an experience with aliens have a positive experience, right? They don't think of it as an abduction; they think of it as contact, right? So Connie's question was, well, what's up with that? Like, why are some people saying, well, no, they took me to the ship, but then they showed me some really cool things. Like, I got to hang out. It was a good time. They took me home. Yeah. Great vibes. Like, why is that happening? So James does have an explanation for that.
Because these beings, reptilians in particular, but a number of different beings, they have the ability to alter the perception of people, make them think, for example, that they're having an encounter or a dream with friendly, benevolent, Nordic, Palladian-looking beings, but really they could be reptilians or other beings, right? Although there are Palladians, there are Nordic beings, they're not all good. There's this notion that if these beings look anything close to human, then of a necessity they have to be good, but that's not necessarily the case. So some people have had a lot of mind control and behavior modification exerted upon them, and they have a very kind of a new age mentality about their own alien abduction experiences.
So we're just getting tricked, man. We're just getting tricked.
What's a Palladian?
So he talks about Nordics
from
and
like
Palladians.
Like from the Pleiades?
Nordic aliens are humanoid extraterrestrials that are coming from the Pleiades, and they look like people from Scandinavia.
Right. They're like tall human looking, very pale, and like white yellow hair.
Yeah, so they're coming from that star cluster, and they look like that, and they're usually said to be very benevolent, right?
We like them. We
like
them.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. Good white aliens.
Good white aliens. There's a strange race
aliens.
thing being inserted into
those blue reptiles. I don't want to know about them. Those gray small aliens. I don't want to know about them, but like nice white aliens.
A nice tall white blonde alien apparently
could be my neighbor. My neighbor.
Totally cool. Not weird at all that's the good race that we've all decided on here on Coast to Coast.
Whoa.
Slightly problematic.
Whoa. All right. Okay, sorry, Paul. Go.
It's cool. We're getting to the deep alien lore. That's all super real,
dude. The I am uncovering something right now.
When you dive into this, though, the alien lore complexity is shocking for how little evidence there is for any of this. But it's just like this thing that's been created in the zeitgeist of people who are really into aliens.
Right.
So there's all these different races from these different locations, and they all have different personalities, and they want different things. And it's very complicated. So that's what we're getting into today.
Right. It is very Star Trekian.
It is. It really is. So
that's probably where like 90% of this lore comes from.
It's mostly just people who like Star Trek.
It's mostly Trekkies.
And maybe slightly racist. We aren't sure.
Almost certainly racist. Almost. Whoa. I had never put that Nordic one together, but that's hilarious.
It's questionable. So what's the goal of a lot of this, Chris?
I have no idea.
I don't either.
I don't have a single idea.
But
what is the goal of this?
The government is involved.
Okay.
And here's one thing that we do know is the government has been putting nanobots in us.
Oh, dude, I knew that.
So how does that tie in?
Dude, the vaccines were nanobot harvest. Dude.
That's exactly what he's talking about.
Yes. Yes.
Why is the military involved, and what is the final outcome? What's the final plan? What's the conclusion? Are they there yet, or soon, or and is there this is the big war that people talk about? Is that right?
Well, yeah. So with the introduction of all this nanotechnology, I'll just leave it at that. But on a global planetary scale, we are seeing this forced march towards this singularity, right? But so many people having what essentially are nano operating systems inside of them, right, all over the world. And there's no telling the implications once people die, shed off their mortal coil. Is that the end of it? Or have these entities, Mantis beings, reptilians, and other beings, do they still have their hooks into these people's souls and consciousness? Because there is circumstantial evidence that these beings not only track bloodlines and generationally, but that they can come back lifetime after lifetime because they have a means of setting energetic hooks into people.
The nanobots are taking our souls too.
Apparently, and I guess that is relevant to the Dreamscape Bureau because things.
Right. Yeah, the connection there wasn't too. What was the war that Connie asked about?
So he talks about some war. It's very obscure, but apparently, like a lot of people tend to talk about kind of an Armageddon type conflict.
Okay.
So that's where she was kind of bringing that in. Is like, is there some sort of major conflict that's coming,
right?
Or some sort of major calamity that's coming,
right? And the singularity was kind of his way of saying, like, this is why we have nanobots in us. This is why they're taking our soul, because it's all leading to the singularity when we all become one large being and none of us are individuals anymore.
Yeah, something like that. It's kind of a weird mix of sci-fi and Bill Cooper, I think. I don't really know where he's getting a lot of this, but yeah.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, though, dude, here's my thing with the nanobots and all that stuff. We literally have cell phones.
Yeah.
That do all of it.
Yeah.
Why do they need little robots in our bodies?
That would be a gigantic waste of money. We do it voluntarily.
This thing is filming me right now, probably. It's probably recording every word that I say. It tracks me. It knows exactly where I am. It knows all the purchases I made. What are we talking about here with the nanobots?
Amazon has literally come out and said that they have, well, I don't know if they came out or if it was leaked, but they have people listening in on Alexa when you're not talking to Alexa.
Right.
Like
All the
constantly
time.
listening in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
It's madness.
What are we talking about? The nanobots. It's not needed.
We're doing it to ourselves.
That's what I'm saying, dude. We paid for it. We're paying people to do this to us.
Well, and here's the thing.
They're
Chris.
smarter than that, dude. They're smarter than that.
They're good at what they do.
Dude,
And-
that's what I'm saying. Like, conspiracists need to, like, get rid of this silly stuff, dude. Because, like, the real life conspiracy is even more horrifying than nanobots
Mhm.
and alien grays and reptoids. This stuff is not necessary. They are stealing our souls, not with stupid bureaus, but like through the everyday living that we have to do, our selling of our bodies to live. That is what is stealing our souls, dude.
Well, here's the difference, though, Chris, is that you're talking about it metaphorically. And these nanobots are literally stealing our souls. So I'm more worried about the nanobots.
I don't know if I am being metaphorical, dude. I think at the end of the day, we are being sacrificed to Moloch.
All right, reel it in. Reel it in. We're reeling this in.
So I don't need the alien.
Let's go
hybrids.
back to the crank on the radio, not the crank I'm on Zoom with, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So the military is working with the aliens. That's the important thing that we need to get here. All right. We can't trust our military. They're part of the conspiracy.
Okay.
Yes, I'm absolutely convinced that there are factions within the deep black military and aerospace community that work in conjunction with non-human beings. And this has been going on for some time. If you go back into the ancient literature, ancient texts, I mean, the wars of gods and men, the gods walking the earth alongside humans, it's a very old concept. And then you add on to that the lore from the inner earth stories going back countless millennia of large, advanced, relatively advanced civilizations that live in the cavern systems beneath our feet, right? And so particularly the hybridized secret society members, the hybridized members of the deep black military aerospace community, it's been in their bloodlines all along to interact with non-human beings in the context of these ceremonial workings, for example. I mean, what are the odds that Jack Parsons, a disciple of Aleister Crowley, would be involved in the Babylon working with L. Ron Hubbard for the express purpose of opening huge dimensional portals to let beings in, right?
So this guy's all over the place. He is throwing out so many things at once.
Please tell me that you investigated that last little bit, because I don't know who Jack Parsons is. I very much know who L. Ron Hubbard is, who's the founder of Scientology, if you didn't know. What is that connection?
So I did unpack that for us. First off, he starts talking a lot about bloodlines, and that's when I start getting concerned, because that's typically where these things get anti-Semitic, when he's discussing cabals and bloodlines and Luciferians. Then we get into like protocol talk. So
yeah,
he's dog whistling a bit to me right now, where I'm like, my ears perked. I'm like, you want to dig into that, buddy? What family is you talking about here?
But I will say I did not have a problem with the secret military, secret society stuff. Didn't really have too much trouble with that. The bloodlines, you're right, did raise an eyebrow.
That's when it gets questioned. Well, our military is secret. They're doing crazy stuff. I'm here
for
for that.
Also, to be fair to him, dude, there are some ancient family bloodlines in America.
Not getting into that, dude. Not doing that. Let's get into Jack Parsons. So yes. Jack Parsons was a rocket engineer who converted to Thelamism. How do you say that? Aleister Crowley's religion.
Thelamism.
Thelamism. I always read it. I don't actually know how to pronounce it. So Parsons ran what was essentially a boarding house for magic users that L. Ron Hubbard moved into when he was very young.
This is insane already.
Yeah. Yeah, so Parsons would lead rituals, and an example of these rituals is that he would have people masturbate onto magic tablets to try and summon elemental creatures.
Elemental creatures, so like a fire spirit or like
Yeah.
a water being.
Exactly.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
So Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard actually worked together to try and summon the Moonchild, which was theorized by Aleister Crowley, and you can essentially think of it as the Antichrist. All right, so they were trying to summon the Antichrist to be immaculately conceived in a woman. 9 months later, she would give birth to this being that would be like the dark god for them all.
Were they successful?
They were not successful, sadly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is a bummer. So that didn't work out.
Oh, it didn't work?
Yeah. And
Oh,
a fun
dang.
little twist of these two's lives intertwining. So Parsons was married to a woman and then started sleeping with that woman's sister and then separated from his wife to be with the sister. And then the sister left Parsons for L. Ron Hubbard.
This is wild, dude. This is unbelievable history right here. And so, anyways, who the hell is Jack Parsons?
He's just this magic. He was a big magic guy in America in like the 50s.
And what does that have to do with him being friends with L. Ron Hubbard and the aliens?
L. Ron Hubbard and Parsons did magic together. I think he's trying to say that there's no way that these people would know each other unless there was some sort of cabal. He's mostly throwing things out. Like he just says random stuff that are like related to conspiracies, but he doesn't do a good job tying them together.
I was going to say, I'm confused about how they all work into this, dude. Is L. Ron Hubbard insane? Absolutely. Is this guy insane? 100%. What else is the connective tissue here?
I don't think there is one.
I guess what he is talking about is a little Scientology, though.
I guess in a way, but I mean,
because L. Ron Hubbard talked about aliens and then feeding off of our energies and stuff. I mean, also, but that bad energy is dead alien souls or something like that.
Well, we have dead alien souls attached to us from when all the aliens were dropped into a volcano.
Right.
And we have to work through these like past life traumas to get the aliens to detach. But I think it's less of they're actively feeding on us and this is a bureaucracy and more of just like they're just kind of there. They're just kind of stuck.
It's funny because it sounds like he's anti L. Ron Hubbard, but he is kind of an L. Ron Hubbard.
He is a bit, yeah. Except he's much worse than like L. Ron Hubbard.
I wouldn't say that, dude.
Well, here's what I'm trying to say.
Was a bad dude.
No, here's what I'm trying to say. L. Ron Hubbard is much worse in terms of like morality, but L. Ron Hubbard was better at crafting a narrative.
At the lore. Right. He could tell a story better than this guy could.
Exactly, because he was a science fiction author.
Right.
This guy's not good at the lore part.
Yeah, he's given us some dead ends and stuff.
Yeah, I want it tied together. I don't want to think this much.
Right.
He's hurting my head.
100%.
So let's get to callers, man. What do the callers think about all this?
Yeah.
So number one, we have a starseed caller.
A what?
A starseed. Are you familiar with starseeds, Chris?
I don't know what a starseed is.
So a starseed is a person who lives on Earth and they live in a human body, but they're basically souls of aliens, right? So it is also a little L. Ron Hubbard. They come from another galaxy and they're here for whatever reason.
Okay. They got put here by mistake. So almost like an otherkin.
Very Jason
aliens.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Check out episode 2 for otherkin talk. So let's
no,
get
that's
into
episode
starseed.
1.
Is that episode 1?
That was episode 1.
Oh, damn. Is it any good? I might need to go back and listen.
Also, who can we call on for help? We're my friend and I, we're on the continuous psychic attack from a particular group. Very nasty, extremely nasty, and we get help, but it's very intermittent. I don't even know if we're getting through. Who can we call on? I mean, we've called on everyone. I'm an explorer soul, and I'm also starseed. I came from a different universe, and there's a few of us here that I ran into. And we come here, and it's like our lives are different, but we're on the psychic attack that is different than the usual psychic attack, and we don't know who to call on. We've gone out there in the universe and gotten help, but who is so powerful that could undo the damage that's being done to us?
See, this is what I'm talking about, dude. We need to learn how to protect ourselves from psychic damage.
Yeah.
We're going to have to learn how to figure that out, because I wouldn't know what to do if I was under constant psychic barrage.
And that's the thing too, is that what this guy's describing is these like incorporeal beings that are coming in through my closet to haunt my dreams. How do I protect myself?
How do I protect myself from that?
How do you stop that?
How do you stop corporeal beings that are hybrids of terrestrial reptiles and gray aliens, Paul? I don't know how to do that.
Let's hear James's answer to this.
We got an
caller.
answer? We got an answer?
We have an answer. We have an answer. And we need an answer.
Well, I do believe, like I said in an earlier segment, that we are boots on the ground. We are the sum of all of our parts, and not only are our incarnations from a linear sense on Earth, but also our incarnations on other worlds, other dimensions. So at some level in our morphic resonance field, we still retain all that information. We just have to find a way of tapping back into it.
Did that help you at all, Chris, in protecting yourself?
So essentially what I'm understanding is that I need to figure out how to get in touch with my other incarnations throughout the universe and multiverse. And those individuals will collectively help me in protecting myself from these alien hybrids, Paul.
Yes, which is simple enough to do.
Simple enough to do. I may need help figuring out how I contact them.
You just got to think really hard, and then you'll get there.
Right.
You'll get there. Maybe some astral projection would help.
Oh, Chris on Alpha 7, please help me in fighting the alien hybrids that are also Earth terrestrial and green alien hybrids.
Well, here's the thing, too, is that you would think that this guy would have a better answer to that question.
Terrible. That was awful.
That was a very bad answer. You know, it's like
he said a lot of buzzwords and didn't get anywhere, dude. It was like watching a modern day political debate.
It was like marketing fluff. Like, no, give me the meat. You know, when we're talking shadow people, and that guy called in and was like, no, you have to get a blunt sword and then wave it around yourself, and it cuts the psychic connections that shadow people make to you.
Yes.
I need that sort of advice. You know
just
what I mean?
Walking around at your house with a butter knife hitting the back of your neck.
Yeah. That's
good stuff, dude. That was good stuff. At least it's a tangible thing I can do.
Those are actionable next steps.
Yeah.
Which
dude,
I appreciate.
That's Tim Banal telling you to get on Facebook and comment, dude.
Yes.
Tell me what to do. I'm going to do it.
Obviously, I'm going to do it.
Telling me to reach out to my incarnations in other galaxies and throughout the universe and multiverse doesn't help me whatsoever. If I could do that regularly, I wouldn't have these questions.
Would not have a single one of these questions. All right, so we got another caller, and this caller says something very interesting about America that is the most American-centric thing I think I've ever heard.
And this might sound strange, but I think basically the bottom line is that God and Satan are fighting for the soul of America. This is crazy, but I think America is its own planet. Anyways, you can say they're fighting over the world, but my question is, I'm wondering who God really is. Could God be that alien entity coming from the Enki line passed down through Noah? And one last question. I'm wondering if James knows anything about that Black Knight thing that flies around up in the atmosphere.
All right, so
dude, I didn't have one problem with that, dude. America is its own planet.
Yes.
America is its own planet.
And therefore, when God and Satan are fighting over it, they're fighting over the literal world.
But I mean, This is all making a whole lot of sense. We got the best military, dude. We got the best people. We make the best products, and we got the best food.
Here's the thing. I don't understand what she means when she says America is its own planet. Is she saying that we're out in space by ourselves and there's no other countries?
She's saying no other country even compares, dude. They might as well be on the other side of the galaxy. They're so far away from us, dude. America is its own planet.
Is that your new tagline? America's its own planet?
That's it, dude. That's how I'm ending the podcast from now on, dude. Instead of all conspiracy all the time, America is its own planet.
So, Chris, she's mentioned a couple things there, and one of them that I wanted to hit on that I thought was interesting was the Black Knight satellite. Have you heard of this Black Knight satellite before?
No, and I didn't hear satellite, so I thought she just said Black Knight in the atmosphere, and I was like, what has this lady taken?
She did not use the word satellite. She said the Black Knight like thing floating in space, basically.
Yeah, okay.
Which is in reference to the Black Knight satellite.
Okay, so what is that? Is that real?
This is old school, dude. This lady's been around a minute. She's been listening to Coast.
She sounded older. She did sound older.
So the Black Knight satellite is a conspiracy theory that says that there is an alien satellite in low orbit above Earth, and that NASA actually got a picture of it in 1998.
We don't know what it is, though.
So it depends who you ask.
Okay.
As always, let's show you a picture here, Chris, and we can add these into the show notes. But essentially what this is a picture of Earth, right? And there is a black object floating in orbit above it.
Okay, I think I have seen this, actually.
So what the government says this is that the picture was taken while they were putting together the International Space Station, or ISS, and a thermal cover got loose from its tether and just kind of floated off. And that's when the picture was taken, is that you could still see it in the distance kind of floating off. And then the object was, itemized as space junk, and then eventually burned up in the atmosphere when it fell out of orbit.
All right, Paul. Well, here's the problem. I've never trusted anything the government has ever told me. What's the actual answer?
The actual answer is that it's a secret alien satellite that has been in low orbit above Earth, and it's been there since the 90s, and the government is hiding it from us.
All right, I love that answer.
Is that a better answer?
That's such a better answer.
So
I mean, by now we have certainly gotten this satellite. It's no longer orbiting Earth, right?
Well, I think the thing is that it's a satellite. It's an alien satellite that we're in communication with. So it's not that we're trying to capture it. It's that the aliens have put it there to talk to us.
Okay. All right. It's their transmitter.
We're in cahoots.
Right. Yeah, that's right. We're the transmitter. I also love that she's so worried that God is an alien.
Yeah. That's kind of a common theme with a lot of people. It's like where their Christianity and their conspiracy theories kind of combine into God and Satan are aliens.
Right.
Which is fun. I don't want to take that away from them.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time. So let's hear his answer. What's the answer to this lady's question?
Well, as far as the Black Knight, I've only seen, thank you for asking those questions, by the way. I've only seen still imagery, photos. I don't doubt that it's out there. If you look at Phobos, one of the moons of Mars, it's not a spheroid. It's shaped kind of like a big spaceship, and there are interesting aspects as far as its orbit is concerned. It seems to alter its orbit at known predetermined points as it goes around Mars, right? And then also the Soviets had sent a probe there, which the last image that the probe sent out was being approached by a gigantic cylindrical object about 15 kilometers long.
Was he talking about a Moa there?
No, he was talking about the Phobos 2 satellite that was sent by Russia to Mars in 1988. So this was actually a piece of alien lore that I was not familiar with, Chris. But
okay.
The satellite Phobos 2 was launched in 88, and it was supposed to gather data and then release 2 landers onto the moon of Phobos. And contact with the satellite Phobos 2 was lost, and it was able to send back 37 images of Phobos before it had a critical failure of its onboard computer. And the last image, Chris, looked a little like this. Now, what you're seeing is what is essentially a white blob. Once again, this is a photo taken on a satellite in 1988. And then there is a white line on the photograph.
Right.
That is larger than the size of this moon.
Yeah, right. It's
Now,
bigger than Phobos.
It looks bigger than Phobos.
Longer. It's longer than Phobos.
Yeah. There's a couple explanations for it, according to governments. Okay. Number one, this was
You
a
mean
satellite.
liars?
The satellite that was failing. Apparently, it also could have been a shadow that was on the camera somehow from the satellite itself. Now, those alien believers among us have said that this was an alien spaceship that was captured on camera, and then it was what destroyed the Phobos satellite and why it went offline.
Dang, dude. Even the aliens hated the Soviets, dude. America is its own planet, dude.
So that is the story of Phobos 2. These are old school, man. Like,
yeah, dude, you kind of went back a little bit on a couple of these, dude. Mantis people has to be from like the 70s, dude. I have not heard of Mantis people.
You don't hear them they've been brought up a couple times on Coast. No one goes in depth into them like they do with like reptilians or grays, but they're occasionally brought up as like the really malevolent aliens.
Dude, let's get on Coast to Coast and be the Mantis guys.
Just the Mantis bros.
Yeah, we got to get some deep lore on the Mantis people. If you guys want to help with that, send us an email. Give us some ideas for the Mantis people. We'll put something together.
We got to do it, man. We got to do it. So the last clip we have for today is about these secret underground bunkers, Chris.
Oh, dude, you had to bring up the dumbs.
You got to get a little dumb action in.
You got to bring up the dumbs.
There are, for lack of a better term, underground processing plants where humans are essentially being harvested as not just a food source energetically, every which way you can think. It's happening in a mass scale underground throughout the planet. So I'm not saying it's a case of what comes around goes around, but these kinds of characteristics of predation, of exploitation, of domination, and a sense of ownership of other animals and other life forms, which is what the reptilians do to us, this concept of human ownership.
So, dude, that was the Matrix.
That is the Matrix.
He literally has taken all of his lore from movies.
I mean, we got Monsters, Inc. We got monsters coming out of our closet to give us bad dreams. Yeah. We got Inception because they're controlling our brains and our actions. Through our sleep. We got the Matrix because they're harvesting us underground.
The Adjustment Bureau because this is a bureaucracy doing it to us.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, though. Great movies.
Great movie. Really good movie. He's like Quentin Tarantino. He's stealing from the best.
That's true. Just a little quick remix. That was Kill Bill was basically just one big remix.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Actually, you're making me like this guy more now. It's good.
He's good. The Tarantino of conspiracies.
So, Chris, that is our story of the what does it even call it? The Dreamscape Adjustment Bureau.
The Dreamscape Adjustment
Bureau. Such a name.
Insane. I don't even know if I'm going to use that in the title because it doesn't make any sense.
So confusing.
I don't know if people would click on that.
I don't know either. I did. So
would you click on that, listener?
I clicked on it.
You clicked on it.
Because I was like, what are those words?
Yeah, but you're also so like, I don't know what pill it is, conspiracy pilled, that if you saw that, you're like, I don't know what that is. I need to know more.
When you're so deep into things and you see something that doesn't make any sense, you got to click on it. And I think the reason why I didn't know what it was is because I think he made it up. I don't think there's any other reference to this anywhere else.
No other reference to this bureau, this bureaucracy, this government system that is stealing our energy from our bad dreams and implanting thoughts into our head from hybrids of terrestrial reptiles and gray aliens that I still don't understand why they're working together against us.
Did I cause you to overheat?
It made more, dude. John Rhodes made more sense. At least the reptiles were working with our elites, dude, against the alien scum, dude. Why would terrestrials work against each other? This just doesn't add up.
It's not adding up, but he got 3 hours on Coast to Coast. So
my God,
just as a reminder, this was aired for 3 hours across the nation from 1 to 4 p.m. or 1 to 4 a.m.
He's just going with the flow, dude.
He's rocking it. And afterwards, Connie said, "Hey, I got to have you on my podcast," because she needed more.
I need more of this guy. Paul, I saw that you had a clip about Planet 9, dude.
We did have a Planet X clip.
You had a Nibiru. You had a Nibiru reference, dude.
Yeah, we got Nibiru, which has its own solar system, apparently. So there's a whole solar system around Planet X that's going to crash into us. And that also goes back to cataclysms that happen every 12,000 years. So he loops in some of
he figured out a way to get Graham in there.
He got some Graham Hancock sort of in, but I've never heard Nibiru having its own solar system. That was actually a first.
No, it's just a planet.
It also makes substantially less sense. Like Planet X that's hiding behind the sun. That's okay. I can picture that in my head. I can't picture how there's a solar system on the other side of the sun. That makes me much more confused.
Right.
So, well, Chris, that was our Astral Dreamscape Adjustment Bureau episode. On a scale of 1 to 5 reptilian gray hybrids hiding in your closet, what do you rank this guy?
2 reptilian hybrids hiding in my closet, dude. The threads are loose on this one. He needs to do so much more tying up the loose ends. It's a little sloppy still.
I think you're right, man.
You said this is 2022, right? So
yeah.
This is a fairly new episode, so he still has time to tighten everything up, but it's just a little too loosey goosey for me.
I think you're right, man. I'm going to give it 1. I think that he really needs to connect the threads. He just kept throwing stuff out there. I don't understand how they go into his larger narrative. Bad
plot
lore.
holes, a lot of plot holes.
We're lore people over here.
Yeah.
And he didn't give me what I wanted. It was almost there, wasn't there. He gets a 1 out of 5. But I'll tell you what, if he comes back on, we'll give James another chance.
We'll give him another chance. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll give it a listen. If it's any better, I'll let you know.
Yeah. James, tighten up some of those loosey-goosey plot holes, dude.
Yeah.
Come on now. Go back and listen to some of the classics, dude. Get your little Malachi Martin in. Learn from the Gnostics. I mean, Malachi went into a cabal. He didn't need to be anti-Semitic about it.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with, families that have a lot of money and have passed that wealth down. Look at our royals. But don't get anti-Semitic with it.
Yeah, he got a little weird with it. And he doesn't dive into it, but I would be wary to have him dive in based on some of the things that he was saying. I was like, I think I know where this is going to go. And he was playing it light in a lot of ways, which also, because he wasn't saying the vaccines give us nanobots, but he's like, all the nanobots that are now in us, and I won't say why, but that were recently injected. I'm like, so the vaccine.
Right. Yeah. There was a thing that happened that millions of people caught. And
he also got into chemtrails. There was so much here. He talked chemtrails, how chemtrails are hiding Planet X. Like, it was just chaos.
The chemtrails are hiding. That's just what I'm talking about, dude. At some point, you got to cut off the fact.
Yeah.
One of the things that have made a lot of our previous listens so good is that you had experts, right? That are like, I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know about that. I can't speak to that. This guy is going to speak to everything.
Yeah, there is a point where you're doing too much yes and.
Yeah.
To where I don't know what we're talking about.
Right.
And I think
just bringing up L. Ron Hubbard and some magic man. And I was like, what are you talking about, bro?
I want to look and see if there is an episode on like 1940s and 1950s magic in America, because those stories are utter chaos.
They're wild. They're absolutely
crazy.
Wild, dude. L. Ron Hubbard and the Scientology movement, the Dianetics, that all comes from someplace, right? That's all built up. That didn't just pop out of L. Ron Hubbard's head. There's like a lot of like weird seance, like psychic stuff happening in those years, especially right after World War II, where everyone is just like psychically damaged.
Yeah, and I think even Charles Manson plugs into that story as well when it comes to L. Ron Hubbard and Aleister Crowley's religions. Yeah, there's a lot of weird ties there.
MK Ultra. I mean, it's all, talk about those secret black government, programs like that. It's all meshed together in this weird suit, dude.
And that's all real stuff you can talk through. Where
that's
you
all
don't
real
need to
stuff
have
you can talk
a mantis
about,
in your closet.
That's all real stuff you can talk about.
These are tangible things. There are books.
These are all
there
things
records.
that happened.
These are all real. These people existed and they knew each other and they were involved in weird stuff. But
Ronald Reagan really did have a psychic doing magic in the White House.
That happens.
That happened.
That was real.
This is real.
And the CIA did kill JFK. Allegedly.
The CIA killed JFK.
Allegedly.
This is real.
Well, we got to wrap it up, Chris. I think we're running over. We're going off the rails. This is what this man has done to us. He has taken us off the rails. Once again, you can email your thoughts to us, c2cpmpod@gmail.com. Send us your requests. There's an episode you want to listen to. We appreciate you listening. Smash that follow button. Drop us 5 stars. We love you, and we will see you again next week.
America is its own planet.
I hate it.
Later.
I hate it.